Hello. This is my teaching reflection number 3 for Methods 3. I taught on November 18th at Irving Middle School with their 7th grade band, and I taught their Essential Elements line, number 65, the sea shanty. I would say overall, my strengths for this teaching episode was my sequencing. I was really, really happy with the progression I took towards learning the line and the sequencing, and especially towards the end. I think I often have a problem of getting caught up on the first few sequences, and I don't see through the whole thing. So this time, I got through the whole sequence very balanced, very timely in the 10 minutes. And I think each of the progressions in the sequencing was very helpful for the students. Like one thing led into the next, and they really followed it, and I think it really helped their final outcome. I think they learned the line much better than if the sequencing was more out of order or more disjunct. Another one of the strengths, I believe that I was giving more specific feedback in each of my repetitions in the teaching cycles. Sometimes I'm too general or too vague or trying to find the words as I'm saying it. That still happened a little bit this time, but I was quite clear with each of the repetitions in what I was going to say and how I isolated and what to listen for. And I think everyone in the band knew what they were supposed to be doing at every given moment. I would say one of the weaknesses I still had was talking versus playing. I was giving a lot of information that was more concise and clear than normal, but I wasn't letting the students have an opportunity to try out what I was telling them. I would just say like 3 or 4 different things and then just say, go and do that. Like one time. And say that that's good enough and move on. When maybe they only did one of those 4 things. So instead, building in these shorter cycles I noticed there were instances when looking back on my video, as I was explaining a concept or modeling it, it would have been very easy to just, right after I modeled it, say, can everyone try that? And they get to try out how I just modeled it so that they have the model really clear in front of them, and it helps them understand why my model was like it was and how that can be immediately be applied to what they're playing. So interspersing more playing in between the points I have. I think it's okay to have the 3 or 4 points I want them to work on, but to do them one at a time and give them a chance to experiment and try out and integrate each one separately before moving on to the next one. That would be much more helpful. Looking ahead for my final lesson, I think I came in with a lot of ideas and a very clear sequence that was really effective. So for this, I want to keep that same clarity of sequence and to keep it moving, basically, just to move on from sequence to sequence. But within each sequence, definitely more playing and more opportunity to try out the things that I'm suggesting. Towards the end of this lesson, I noticed I was giving more opportunities, especially with the accents in the last bar. This bum bum. I was giving a lot of information about 75% note length, like Miss Neal said, or create the accent with the air, things like that. But more importantly, I got everyone doing those 2 notes over and over and over again with very little downtime in between, where I would go, bum bum, ready accents, Okay, go again. Start with more air. Now the wood wins. Brass, try it now. Everyone all together. Something like that, like this audibles in between in a very measured way was saving a lot of time and was giving a lot more repetitions with very minimal feedback. There are more saying one small thing and letting them try it out, I think, is the main takeaway from this. My sequencing was much better and my pacing was much better, but now I just need to let them sit. Not let them sit, but actively be a part of every sequence and actively be trying out and playing within each sequence as much as possible. That's all I have. But I'm really happy with the lesson overall, and it was pretty successful. And I'm getting better at giving more instrument specific feedback, and relating sounds across the ensemble. I think I did a really good job of saying, "Hey everyone, listen to how the clarinets are doing this," and model that. "Hey everyone, listen backward to the percussion, hear their articulation, and try to match their articulation." Things of that nature for listening across the ensemble, I think was working pretty well. So I'll try to do that more in my next lesson. That's all.